Aurobindo was describing to us the landscapes through which Savitri passed on her quest, and now she has come into the countryside, no longer the cities, not even the farmed fields, out into wild nature. Afar from the brute noise of clamorous needs, the quieted, all-seeking mind could feel at rest from its blind outwardness of will, the unwearied clasp of her mute, patient love. This is our mother, our Mother Earth. And know for a soul the mother of our forms. This spirit stumbling in the fields of sense, this creature bruised in the mortar of the days, could find in her broad spaces of release. Not yet was a world all occupied by care. The bosom of our mother kept for us still her austere regions and her musing depths, her impersonal reaches, lonely and inspired, and the mightinesses of her rapture haunts. Muse-lipped, she nursed her symbol mysteries and guarded for her pure-eyed sacraments the valley clefts between her breasts of joy, her mountain altars for the fires of dawn, and nuptial beaches where the ocean couched, and the huge chanting of her prophet woods. Fields had she of her solitary mirth, plains hushed and happy in the embrace of light, alone with the cry of birds and hue of flowers, and wildernesses of wonder lit by her moons, and grey, sere evenings kindling with the stars, and dim movement in the night's infinitude. August, exulting in her Maker's eye, she felt her nearness to him in earth's breast, conversed still with a light behind the veil, still communed with eternity beyond. A few and fit inhabitants she called to share the glad communion of her peace. The breadth, the summit were their natural home. The strong king sages from their labor done, freed from the warrior tension of their task, came to her serene sessions in these wilds. The strife was over, the respite lay in front. Happy they lived with birds and beasts and flowers and sunlight and the rustle of the leaves, and heard the wild winds wandering in the night, mused with the stars in their mute, constant ranks, and lodged in the mornings as in azure tents, and with the glory of the noons were one. Some deeper plunged from life's external clasp, beckoned into a fiery privacy in the soul's unprofaned, star-white recess. They sojourned with an ever-living bliss. A voice profound in the ecstasy and the hush they heard, beheld an all-revealing light. All time-made difference they overcame. The world was fibered with their own heartstrings, close drawn to the heart that beats in every breast. They reached the one self in all through boundless love. You will begin, Nargis? Would you begin?
Afar from the brute noise of clamorous needs, the quieted, all-seeking mind could feel, at rest from its blind upwardness of will, the unwearied clasp of a mute, patient love, and known for a soul, the mother of our forms.
Thank you. Yes, in line 119, we had the low, sweet, inarticulate voice of earth. No? So here when it says her, this is earth. So when we go into those beautiful spaces of untouched nature, and we are afar, when we are far away from the brute noise of clamorous needs, all these needs that we human beings experience that seem to attack us in our everyday life, they make a sound, a brutal sort of sound, a noise. When we go out into nature, we are far away from that noise of clamorous needs. And then the mind also falls quiet. The mind is usually seeking here and there, very, very active, doing all kinds of things. But in nature it also becomes quiet. It rests from its blind outwardness of will. The mind is usually turned outwards. It's always having to make decisions, and so it's not seeing things as they really are. But in nature it can take a rest from that, and then it can feel the unwearied clasp of her mute, patient love. This is our Mother Earth. How she is always embracing and supporting and holding us up. A clasp and embrace. No? So Mother Earth is full of love. Mute, silent, patient love. So when the mind falls silent in contact, in communion with nature, it feels that the earth, the Mother of our forms, our material forms, is not just a planet, but a soul, a living being. Suresh?
The spirit stumbling in the field of sense is better bruised in the northern of the day, would find in her birth space of releases.
Of release, yes. And read the next line also.
Not that was a world occupied by care.
So care here means anxiety. So this spirit stumbling in the fields of sense, this is us, our human spirit, is stumbling, not walking straight ahead confidently, tripping over, having accidents, making mistakes. No? We are stumbling around here in these fields, in this field of sense, of the senses. We are dominated by our sense impressions all the time. No? And he says, this creature bruised in the mortar of the days. A mortar is a small bowl in which we grind spices, we grind things, and we have with it a pestle, a special tool for grinding. So he says the days, the time is like that mortar, and we are being bruised and crushed by everything that happens all the time. So we are bruised, it's painful. But when we go into nature, we come into contact with Mother Earth, we can find in her broad spaces of release. It's as if we are set free. There's no more bruising, and there's no more stumbling and all of these painful sense impressions. There can be a kind of relaxation and a kind of peace. And then he says of that far back time that it was not yet a world all occupied by care, by human worries and anxieties. Now almost everywhere you go, there are human beings and human concerns and human noise. Perhaps there are still a few places, but in that far back time, there were more of those empty spaces. Bärbel?
The bosom of our mother kept for us still the austral regions and her musing depths, the impersonal reaches lonely and inspired, and the mightinesses of the rapture horns.
Yes. So the bosom of our mother, we talk about the bosom of Mother Earth, no? When we lie down on the ground, we're as if in our mother's arms. So there she's still keeping for us her austere regions, the high mountains where nobody goes, and her impersonal reaches, lonely and inspired, wide open places that seem to invite us to turn to the higher levels. And the mightinesses of her rapture haunts, those wonderful places where we can feel the rapture, the intense delight of being in contact with something deeper. Always when we go, not so much up into the high mountains, but when we first enter away from the plains where there's all agriculture and everything going on, we just start to go up into the hills, and suddenly there are little streams and little banks and flowers and trees. These are, I think, the rapture haunts where we feel the delight of nature. Anyway, of course, here Savitri is traveling up in the foothills of the Himalayas. So that's where her journey is taking place.
Muslim, she nursed the simple mysteries and regarded from a pure-eyed sacrament. The very clefts between her breasts had joy. Her mountain altars were the fires of the dawn, and nuclear beaches where the ocean couched, and the huge chanting of her prophet roots.
So it's as if she's in a kind of trance, muse-lit. She's musing. There's perhaps a little smile on her lips. She's nursing, she's taking care of these symbol mysteries, these mysteries of the way that the landscape, the forms of earth symbolize certain moods. And she's keeping safe for her pure-eyed sacraments. A sacrament is a sacred ritual. There are places where this sacred communion goes on between the human and the divine. She's keeping for that kind of communication. The valleys, the clefts between her breasts of joy, the hills, the lovely rounded hills, are like the breasts of our Mother Earth. And higher up are the mountains, are like altars where the fire of sacrifice can be lit. And particularly it's the dawn, as the sun rises, then there's that fire lit on the altar of the mountaintop. Her mountain altars for the fires, the brilliant fires of the dawn light as the sunrise comes. And she keeps these beaches, these shores, where the ocean meets the land. Nuptial has to do with a marriage. Nuptials are marriages. No? So this is the marriage of the ocean with the land. No? There the ocean lies down, rests on these beaches. And another thing is this sound. Aurobindo often refers to the sound of the mountain forests, her prophet woods. They are chanting like rishis or like people who can see into the future. This wonderful sound that is there, the natural sound of the trees moving.
The prophet woods.
Yes. Those woods are telling something, they're giving some kind of a message about the future, but we don't understand it, but still it's like the chanting of some Vedic seer. Sergei?
Fields have shade of your solitary north, plains harsh and happy in the embrace of light, alone with the cry of birds and hue of flowers, and wilderness of wandering by motes, and grey, sere evenings kindling with the stars, and dim movement in the night's infinitude.
So she, our Mother Earth, had these fields where she could laugh alone. Mirth is merriment, laughter. And wide open plains, hushed and happy in the embrace of light, shining in the sunlight. And there's no one there. There nature is all alone, with the cry of birds and the hue, the color of flowers. And she has these wildernesses which, lit by the moon, they look absolutely magical landscapes, wildernesses of wonder. And then the evening, sometimes there's a brilliant sunset, but sometimes the evenings are very quiet and grey. So they make Aurobindo think of a grey-haired old rishi, a seer, very peaceful, having reached great old age, grey seer evenings, calm and peaceful, and coming alight with the first stars coming out. And then the darkness falls, we can't see anything, it's dark. There's no limit anymore. Night's infinitude, everything is open because we can't see any horizons. And in that infinitude of night, there's movement, some sound, something is moving. Mahalingam.
How thus exulting in her Maker's eye, she felt a nearness to him in God's breast, converged still with the light behind the veil, still communed with eternities beyond.
Yes. August, it means majestic. And she's exulting in her Maker's eye. So the sun is like the eye of the Lord, looking down on her, and she feels that joy, that exaltation, that delight of being seen, looked at, watched by the Lord. And she feels, nature feels her nearness to him in the breast of earth, in this material earth. And that spirit, that soul which is in nature is still conversing, communicating, not with the physical light of the sun, but with a light which is still behind the veil. It has not yet been revealed in the material world. And she's still communicating with eternity, beyond the manifestation, beyond time. Gumsun?
Of pure and peace the inhabitants she called, to share the glad communion of our peace. The brave, the summit were their natural home.
Yes. So our Mother Earth calls, invites a few people to live in those spaces. And they have to be fit people. They have to be people who are suitable to live in that wild nature and not disturb it. A few and fit inhabitants, she called, to share this glad communion of her peace. That's what she offers to them. The peace, the silence, the freedom from care. So to these few and fit inhabitants, the broad, wide spaces and the summits, the top of the mountain, these were natural homes for those special people. Varadarajan.
The strong king sages from the labor done, freed from the warrior tension of the task, came to a serene sessions in these wives. The strife was over. The respite lay in front.
So this is kind of traditional for ancient India, no? That the kings were rulers, but they were also wise rulers. And at a certain stage, they would hand over the kingdom to their successor, and they would retire to the forest. So they've done their part, they've done their work. So now they are freed from the warrior tension of their task. In order to defend their people and their countries, they always had to be on the alert. They had to also be ready to help the gods when the gods needed their help. So they were warriors, they had to be strong people. But that tension of being a warrior, now they don't have to have that. So they come to these serene sessions. Serene, it means not only calm, but calm with a quiet smile, serenity. It's a very beautiful state. So nature is there, that's what she invites them to in these wild places. For them, the strife and the struggle is over, the respite is the rest, the free time is lying in front. So this continues the description of these king sages, Joel.
Happy they lived with birds and beasts and flowers and sunlight and the rustle of the leaves, and heard the wild winds wandering in the night, mused with the stars in their mute constant ranks, and lodged in the mornings as in azure dens, and with the glory of the noons were one.
So it's a beautiful evocation of that peaceful state which nature, which our Mother Earth offers to those strong king sages from their labor done. They lived happy with all the animals and birds and flowers and the sunlight and that gentle sound that the leaves make, the rustle of the leaves. And they can hear the wild winds wandering in the night. That can be a very special sound. No? And they can muse, they can meditate at night with the stars. The stars, he refers to them often as warriors, as soldiers. So here the stars are in their ranks, each of them is in their correct place, and they are silent, and they always keep their correct place. And of course, those warrior kings, when they went on conquest or journeys, they would be living in tents. So those beautiful Indian mornings with the blue sky, he says it's like an azure tent. Azure, beautiful poetic word for blue, particularly the blue of the sky or the sea. And they can become one with the glory of the noons, the time when the sun is at its brightest and highest. That's a very bright and brilliant time. They can feel one with that. Tatiana.
Some deeper plunge from life's external clasp, beckoned into a fiery privacy, in the soul's unprofaned starlight recess. They sojourn with a never-leaving bliss, a voice profound in the ecstasy and the hush they heard, beheld, and all revealing light.
So some of those king sages or some of those people who are called by the mother to live with her in the unspoiled nature, some of them take advantage of that peace and freedom which she offers to go deeper into themselves, to plunge as if they dive deep into themselves. It's as if she invites them, she beckons them, calls them, come, come, away from this external embrace of life. She calls them into a fiery privacy within, where there's a light and an energy in the soul's unprofaned, star-white recess. A recess is a space that is set back. In a room, you may have a small space that is set back, a recess. So the soul lives in a place like that, a chamber which is set back from the main room of life. And that space is star-white, not just white like the walls, but this brilliant white light of the stars. Because it is unprofaned. It's a sacred place where nothing can be which is not sacred. We make a distinction between what is sacred and what is profane, what belongs to the soul and what belongs to the world. So the soul's recess, unprofaned. They are called to enter there, and they can live there. They sojourn, they remain there with an ever-living bliss, the ananda of the soul existence. Gangalakshmi.
All time made difference, they overcame. The world was
Fibered.
fibered with their own
heart strings.
Closed round to the earth.
The heart
that beats in every breath. They reach the one self in all true, boundless love.
Yes. So some of these beings, they plunge into the soul, and there they hear a deep voice in that ecstasy and hush of the soul's chamber, and they see an all-revealing light. And with that, with the help of that voice and that light, they overcome all the sense of difference that is caused by manifestation in time. And they feel this boundless love for everything in the world, so that it's as if the whole world is just strung with their own heartstrings. The heartstrings are what tie you to all the things that you love. No? So the world, the whole world, a fiber is a string, a thread. No? The whole world is fibered with their own heartstrings. And they feel drawn close to the heart that beats in every heart. That's the heart of the Supreme Lord. No? So they reach the one self in all. They reach that one self through love, the boundless love that they feel for everything in the universe. Shiva.
attuned to silence and to the word rhyme. We loosen the knot of the imprisoned mind. Achieved was the wide, untroubled witness gaze. Unsealed was nature's great spiritual eye. To the height of heights rose, now their daily climb. Truth leaned to them from her supernal realm. Above them blazed eternity's mystic sun.
So those beings are attuned to silence. If you have a musical instrument and you want to sing to it, you have to attune it, and you have to attune your voice to the instrument. So their whole being is attuned, it's in harmony with that silence, silence with a capital S, not only the silence of the woods, but the silence which is behind, supporting everything. And to the world rhyme. Rhyme is when we have two words that have a similar sound, that have a similar sound at the ending. Drive and alive, like that. So Aurobindo often speaks about the world rhythms, but when he speaks about the world rhyme, it's the way the same themes or movements come back again and again. There's something cyclic happening. So they are attuned to that, to those vaster rhymes, those vaster cycles. So they are able to loosen the knot of the imprisoning mind. Elsewhere he tells us that this knot of the mind has 3 threads. There's a triple knot, the vital and the physical and the mind itself. This is what limits us and keeps us separated from the vastness and the silence. So they are able, by being attuned to the silence and the world rhyme, they can loosen that knot of the imprisoning mind, and they can achieve the wide, untroubled witness gaze that can look on everything and be untroubled, quietly seeing. For them, nature's great spiritual eye is unsealed, opened. And so, in their daily climb of consciousness, they rise up to the height of heights, the highest height. And when they are rising to that highest height, truth from an even greater height, she leans down to them from her supernal realm, her realm which is above everything. Above them blazed eternity's mystic suns, not the physical sun, but the suns that belong to the other worlds, the suns that represent different aspects of the divine. They are blazing with so brilliant light. And then he describes another kind of people, just in the ascetics.
Nameless, the austere ascetics without home, abandoning speech and motions and desire, aloof from creatures, sit absorbed, alone, immaculate in tranquil heights of self. On concentration's luminous voices speaks, world naked heavens with their matted hair, immobile as the passionless great hills, around them grouped like thoughts of some vast mood, awaiting the infinite's behest to end.
A wonderful description of these ascetics of old. They are austere. They've given up everything, even their names. They don't have names even. They don't have homes. They've renounced speech and movement and desire. They just sit absorbed, alone, aloof, at a distance from everything. They are immaculate, pure, stainless, on tranquil heights of self. Here they are concentrating on concentration's luminous, voiceless peaks. So like on the top of mountains, they are in these high states of consciousness, concentrations, luminous, full of light, voiceless peaks. These are world-naked hermits. Maybe they've even given up clothes. They've withdrawn from the world. They've abandoned everything. And those ascetics, they have the beautiful matted hair. No?
Naked, the basic meaning of naked.
Naked means unclothed. So if they are naked of the world, they've cast everything away. Maybe they even have cast clothes away, no? As some ascetics do. No? Yeah. So there they are immobile, unmoving, like the hills that are around them. And like the hills, they're completely free of passion, of emotion. And those hills are grouped around them as they sit in their concentration. The hills are like thoughts of some vast mood that are just waiting for the command of the infinite to come to an end. Just like the ascetics themselves, there they are in this state of concentration. They're waiting for the divine command to dissolve their being completely.
The seers, attuned to the universal will, content in him who smiles behind earth's forms, abode ungrieved by the insistent days.
So there are seers, rishis, and they are attuned not so much to the silence, they are attuned to the universal will. They are still concerned about the world and the divine will in the world. And they feel content, they feel satisfied with the sense of the presence, divine presence of Him who smiles behind earth's forms. Krishna, Vishnu, the maintainer of things. No? So they live ungrieved, without any grief, even though the days are passing, insistent. And they are teachers, they have disciples. They are not ascetics in the same way as the others. Dhanalakshmi.
About them, like green trees, girdling a hill, young grave disciples, fashioned by the touch, trained to the simple act and conscious word, greatened within, and grew to meet their heights.
So these are gurus, no? These seers. And they have gathered disciples around them. So the disciples are like green trees, girdling, surrounding the bottom of a hill. The teacher is like a hill. No? So these are young, grave disciples, serious young people who are being shaped by the touch, by the influence of each of the seers. They're being trained to be simple in their actions, conscious in their speech, and they are growing greater within, growing to meet the heights, their own heights and the heights of their teacher. And then there's another kind of people. Yes?
Far wandering seekers on the eternal's path brought to this quiet forms their spirits first and spent their treasure of a silent hour.
Bathed
in the purity of their
mild
gaze that uninsistent ruled them from its peace, and by its influence found the ways of God.
So this is about the disciples. There are different kinds of disciples, no? Some of them are these far wandering seekers. They've left everything, they are wandering, looking, searching on this path towards the eternal. And they bring to these quiet founts. A fount is where water comes out. So they come to one or another of these seers. They bring the thirst of their spirit. They want to drink something from that fountain of knowledge. So they would stay there for a time, spent the treasure of a silent hour, bathed in the purity of the mild gaze, so that seer would see them, look at them. It's a mild gaze, a gentle gaze. It's not insistent, it's uninsistent, but nevertheless it rules them from its peace, the influence of the teacher. And so by that influence, those seekers found the ways of calm. So I think we'll stop there today. There are other disciples who come, but we'll read that next time. Afar from the brute noise of clamorous needs, the quieted, all-seeking mind could feel at rest from its blind outwardness of will, the unwearied clasp of her mute, patient love, and know for a soul the mother of our forms. This spirit, stumbling in the fields of sense, this creature bruised in the mortar of the days, could find in her broad spaces of release. Not yet was a world all occupied by care. The bosom of our mother kept for us still her austere regions and her musing depths, her impersonal reaches, lonely and inspired, and the mightinesses of her rapture haunts. Muse-lipped, she nursed her symbol mysteries, and guarded for her pure-eyed sacraments the valley clefts between her breasts of joy, her mountain altars for the fires of dawn, and nuptial beaches where the ocean couched, and the huge chanting of her prophet woods. Fields had she of her solitary mirth, plains hushed and happy in the embrace of light, alone with the cry of birds and hue of flowers, and wildernesses of wonder lit by her moons, and grey sear evenings kindling with the stars, and dim movement in the night's infinitude. August, exulting in her Maker's eye, she felt her nearness to him in earth's breast, conversed still with a light behind the veil, still communed with eternity beyond. A few and fit inhabitants she called to share the glad communion of her peace. The breadth, the summit were their natural home. The strong king sages, from their labour done, freed from the warrior tension of their task, came to her serene sessions in these wilds. The strife was over, the respite lay in front. Happy they lived with birds and beasts and flowers and sunlight and the rustle of the leaves, and heard the wild winds wandering in the night, mused with the stars in their mute constant ranks, and lodged in the mornings as in azure tents, and with the glory of the noons were one. Some deeper plunged, from life's external clasp, beckoned into a fiery privacy in the soul's unprofaned, star-white recess. They sojourned with an ever-living bliss. A voice profound in the ecstasy and the hush they heard, beheld an all-revealing light. All time-made difference they overcame. The world was fibred with their own heartstrings, close drawn to the heart that beats in every breast. They reached the one self in all through boundless love. Attuned to silence and to the world rhyme, they loosened the knot of the imprisoning mind. Achieved was the wide, untroubled witness gaze. Unsealed was nature's great spiritual eye. To the height of heights rose now their daily climb. Truth leaned to them from her supernal realm. Above them blazed eternity's mystic suns. Nameless, the austere ascetics without home, abandoning speech and motion and desire, aloof from creatures, sat absorbed, alone, immaculate in tranquil heights of self, on concentration's luminous, voiceless peaks. World-naked hermits with their matted hair, immobile as the passionless great hills around them grouped like thoughts of some vast mood, awaiting the infinite's behest to end. The seers, attuned to the universal will, content in him who smiles behind earth's forms, abode ungrieved by the insistent days. About them, like green trees girdling a hill, young grave disciples fashioned by their touch, trained to the simple act and conscious word, greatened within and grew to meet their heights. Far wandering seekers on the Eternal's path brought to these quiet founts their spirit's thirst, and spent the treasure of a silent hour, bathed in the purity of the mild gaze that, uninsistent, ruled them from its peace, and by its influence found the ways of calm.